We can absolutely be too empathetic. Hi, I'm Nick. This is 10 Minutes with Nick. And empathy is a great thing. Empathy lets us understand or gives us the insight to understand what other people might be feeling at a particular moment. For example, empathy, we have empathy for somebody who's been robbed. It must have been scary. There must have been some pain involved with that. I'm sure there was some trauma with that. We have empathy for people who have been in car accidents. Oh my God, that must have hurt. Were you worried? Were you scared? We have empathy for people who are angry at any point. I get that. That stuff drives me nuts too. But we might have reached the point where we officially have too much empathy just as a society. Why do I say that? Well, it used to be that you learned empathy as a trait, sort of in the course of things as you grew up. Some people were naturally more sensitive than others, and they sort of understood people's feelings a little bit better than others. But in the course of growing up over, say, the first 20 years of your life, you sort of learned that skill of empathy. And believe me, empathy is a skill. It's not something that's just it's somewhat inherent, but it's not completely inherent, right? You learn empathy. You learn empathy because you go through more. And the only way you can really empathize with someone is to have gone through a similar situation. That's true empathy. It's not performative empathy. Nowadays, thanks to social media, and I'll tell you why this came up in a second, we're too empathetic. We know too much. But beyond knowing too much, we also know the proper response to too much. Real empathy comes from an actual place of experience. There's some things you can't be empathetic to. There's just stuff. If you've never been in a war-torn country, it is very hard to have empathy. You can have sympathy because you know that's not a good thing. But empathy is relating to somebody else's feeling, understanding somebody else's feeling. To have sympathy, you don't have to understand somebody else's feeling. In fact, that's why sympathy can be a little bit condescending, because you're saying to somebody, oh, I don't understand what you're going through, but I feel so bad for you. Sympathy played wrong can be very condescending. Empathy, true empathy, is actually understanding and being able to sit with somebody and talk with them about their experience and actually connect with them. Again, that's something that in the old days would be developed over a lifetime. It's why I think, just a theory, but why I think you would see in generations, you would see the older generations counseling the younger generations, because the older generations had been there, done that. And having been there, done that, they actually could speak to the experience. Performative empathy is attempting to have empathy for an experience that you know nothing about, but deciding that you have to weigh in. And we do that a lot. You get 22-year-olds on the internet being like, I understand what it's like to be broke. Odds are, no, you don't. Even if you were broke as a child, the experience of being broke as a child and being broke as an adult are two very, very different things. As a child, typically, the responsibility of finances don't fall on you. Now, granted, certain things change that dynamic, right? If you were a foster kid, for example, you may know and understand loneliness on a fundamental level deeper than most other 20-year-olds or 22-year-olds. If you were an only child with neglectful parents, you may understand that. But performative empathy is really what social media drives, because you see something and you say wow, I connect with that experience. Sorry, kid. No, you don't. You have sympathy. And that's the problem. When you think your sympathy is actually empathy, it makes you feel as though you're doing much more than you are. Sympathy is, by its definition, feeling bad about something. And feeling bad about something isn't itself a bad thing. But it's not empathy. Empathy is a deeper connection. And empathy brings us to a better understanding of people. And typically that's only earned through experience. This came up the other day because therapy is very big on social media. It's at least big on the videos that pop up on my social media. And this random white guy, which is every therapy influencer on the internet, I've noticed, and this is just a notice thing. I noticed that the white guys on the internet, the white men specifically, their insights into therapy or their insights into mental health are probably the least helpful of anybody on the planet. I don't know why that is. I'm not making a generalization. It's just my observation. It is my anecdotal evidence. I don't have anything to back that up. It's just what I've noticed. But this guy, falling into this category, he was saying how we can heal without getting angry at our parents who were doing the best they could. That's absolutely fine. But the way he was describing this, he was essentially talking about having empathy in a situation where you're looking for empathy, where you're looking for comfort. I work with a very good doctor. He's very good at what he does. He's very good working on the biscuits. Anger is quite literally part of the healing experience. And what 10-cent social media bro was talking about was completely removing the anger and the anguish from the experience because we can understand what they were going through. First of all, no, we can't. If you're Generation Z, you don't know what Gen X was going through. You don't understand the existential terrors that Gen X went through. You just don't, because they were different. The world was different. You don't understand, like, for example, milk carton kids. Generation Z probably don't even know what a milk carton kid is. We don't understand that experience. We can't have empathy for that experience. Now, you certainly can have sympathy for the experience, but sympathy is typically not all that helpful. And having performative empathy is just forcing yourself to have so much empathy that it's harmful. You understand too much, or you're saying you understand too much, or you're attempting to understand too much. The whole world is not there for you to understand. We all need to focus on speaking to the experiences that we can actually speak to. And who knows, that might help us solve things. For example, I can't have empathy for what a lot of women go through. I just can't. Why? Because I've never been a woman. And yes, the way I pronounce woman is with an H. But I've never been one. I don't have that experience. I can't have empathy for it. I can have empathy for certain situations. I can have empathy for losing a job. I can have empathy for getting cut from a sports team. I can have empathy for failing a grade. Those aren't gender-specific experiences. But I can't have empathy for the gender-specific experiences. No matter how much I try. It doesn't matter because I've never gone through it. Even if I were to go through it, or to put myself in that situation and force myself to go through it, it would be performative to the max because it would not result in an actual understanding. Empathy is understanding. And understanding only comes with experience. It's completely okay to understand that you don't have empathy for something because you've never gone through it. If you've never lost a parent, you don't know what that feels like. And that's okay. If you've never lost a pet, you don't know what that's like. If you've never lost a case in court, you don't know what that specific experience is like. But you can still sit with someone and listen. You don't have to have empathy to listen because you can listen and learn. And learning sometimes is simply better than empathy. Because empathy, you're trying to reach in and understand. You can listen and in silence and learn. Anyways, that's my 10 minutes. It's a Friday. Enjoy your long weekend. Have a great Memorial Day. Thank you to those of you who subscribe to the podcast. If you do subscribe, thank you. Tell your friends. Or don't. It's up to you. This is America. We're celebrating that this Memorial Day weekend. We're celebrating specifically this Memorial Day weekend, those who have lost their lives serving our country. And so to them, I wish to say a specific thank you. And because of that, I will not be asking you to do anything else. I will simply say, if you have a chance, just say thank you. Say a private thank you, say a private prayer. We may not be able to empathize with the experience of all soldiers who are lost, but we can certainly listen and learn. I'm Nick. This is 10 Minutes with Nick. Have a great day.